On today's show, Evan Mobley's season now feels lost. We'll explain why and talk about Cavs Hawks on today's Locked on Cavs.
You are Locked on Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. I am Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Jake Stevens is back today. We're going to start with Cavs Hawks. We'll get to Evan Mobley and the news that he's going to miss some real time with his ankle sprain in segments 2 and 3. But to start with Cavs Hawks, a Cavs loss 7, but they almost come back from all the way bet down again, led at different points, showed a lot of, I think, effort in the second half. And to me, if we're going to try to take lessons from games and extrapolate, okay, what matters, even on nights where they don't have it or it's a back-to-back and you could have projected a loss and they were betting underdogs for a reason and all of that, and like 12 points in the fourth quarter just isn't going to win you games. To me, the effort level they played with and maybe didn't have the juice to sustain is going to be really key. If you're going to miss Mitchell for Lord knows how long, and Mobley's going to miss time, and Strus is banged up, and Okoro's nursing an injury, and on it goes, effort from everyone from Darius Garland to Craig Porter Jr. to Damien Jones is going to be mandatory for this team to win games right now.
The fact that you included Damien Jones, I'm not taking my actual hat off, but my hat off to you for that one. But
he had, to his credit, 2 good plays in this game, and like that's more than he has done most of this season.
Oh, absolutely. But still, my hat off to you for that one. Just giving Damien Jones the shout, because ideally, when the Cavs are not healthier, but they have Tristan Thompson back, I'd assume Thompson gets the minutes over Jones. But the Cavs were kind of slow. You could tell, like, physically the baggage that came with the win over the Celtics was certainly there, just from a physical aspect. I think the emotional hangover was certainly there too. You could certainly feel it in the first half, where both like teams were just kind of going through the motions after the Hawks, before this game just beat the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. So it's unfortunate the Cavs weren't able to capitalize on the momentum or the spark that they formed in the third quarter, especially because, that comeback was very impressive. It just, it was a case of like too little too late, and also just, I think, them running out of a bit of steam down the stretch. And as you said, like 12 points in the fourth quarter, it just isn't going to do it, especially after such a dramatic swing back in the third frame for Cleveland.
I think if you look at the third too, like what worked was kind of a hodgepodge of things. If you're looking at just like where that came from, it starts with Jared Allen. He had 10 points in that quarter, 6 boards, 2 on the offensive end, was awesome for that whole quarter. Was really the best player on the floor for Cleveland, I think, this entire game. Isaac Okoro was doing everything. Had 9 points, was 1 of 2 from 3, got the line, 3 of 5 from the field. Craig Porter Jr. had his moments. You had Carris Levert moments, and I thought Levert was really purposeful. Maybe not always the best outcomes for him in this game, but at least was trying to be the one playing with pace and trying to speed things up a little bit. Like, everyone at least did something where you're like, okay, I understand what your job was here to contribute. I understand sort of what you're trying to do. On a night where you don't have Mitchell, you don't have Mobley, you don't have Strus, like, I'll take that on a second night of a back-to-back where you get in really late and you're definitely not, like, probably feeling great as this game starts. Like, I'll take that. All that said, too, you could feel the fatigue. I think Sam Merrill is probably the best example of that, because Sam Merrill just never got into a rhythm. 0-9 from 3. Love, to be clear, that he just kept shooting because that's what he's supposed to do. But like, if you want to exemplify, okay, how this team didn't have legs for this particular game, Merrill playing 30 minutes the night before when he hasn't played regular minutes and then taking 9 threes, I think also tells you a story about, okay, sometimes you can play hard and do what you're supposed to do, but sometimes like the energy in the regular season just is not going to be there.
Yeah, there are nights that are like this. You and I were talking about this heading into the episode. Like, it's an 82 game slug.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And there are going to be nights like this, as you just said. But also, the Cavs were they had an emotionally and physically taxing game against the Celtics the night before, and they are now down not just Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus like they were in the last game, but also Evan Mobley, who is integral to what they do defensively. I'm sure people will have plenty of things to say about what he can do offensively. Our YouTube comments certainly say that they should bench him for Dean Wade, which, wild stuff. But, please let us know in the comments your justification for that thought process. I want to see a manifesto form in real time. But more so just the fact that the Cavs were undermanned. Sure, the Hawks were too, but the Cavs are just kind of lacking the juice. And also, they weren't home. I think they, having the emotional boost of a home crowd behind you could have maybe been the difference to push the Cavs across the finish line for this one. But say la vie, they go 3-1 against the Hawks this season, and they now shift their focus to Friday against the Timberwolves, and hopefully they get Max Strus back, because Donovan Mitchell's already been ruled out for that game, and I'd assume at least Evan Mobley is out for this matchup as well, just based on what the Cavs had to say for the game against the Hawks on his status.
Yeah, and also, just the reporting from The Athletic, which again we'll get to, basically just indicated going to be a bit for Mobley. And let me ask you one thing kind of conceptually about this game, and
Sure.
really just about the NBA. I think, to me, I look at these games, and having covered the league for a while and think about the league, I think far too much sometimes. I'm like sort of used, and I think you are as well, used to that you get some of these games in the regular season, that not every game is going to necessarily demand your full attention. Not every game is necessarily going to be something a team is able to bring its full self to. It's very different structurally, obviously, than like the NFL, where there's one game a week and you can theoretically kind of show up every week and have everything. And not that they don't struggle through stuff, but do you think this ultimately, this kind of game is... I don't want to say bad, but do you think this kind of game is a hindrance to the league at all? Because I sometimes think it is.
I think back-to-backs are pointless at this point, because you are watching these athletes at their absolute physical peak in the best basketball league in the world in a competitive sense. Even football, we can talk about football for a second. I think Thursday, Friday, Monday, Saturday night games are obtuse and, disrespectful to the players who are literally... As Shannon Sharp would put it, I talk about Shannon Sharp a lot this week, but put on a football helmet and run into your garage door 50 times a day for the next 10, 15 years. You'll know what it's like to be a football player. And so, yeah, putting them through that physical demand and stress is just, it's inconvenient and unfortunate for the players that, the financial ties that the league has to sponsors and things like that. And just how certain things work out too. Certainly put a hindrance in that. You're never going to see the NBA say, okay, we're going to play less games. Jiminy Christmas, the NFL is flirting with the idea of adding an additional game to the regular season just for, just squeezing as much blood as they can from the stone before the postseason. So, yeah, I think it just stinks because it does impact the overall on-court product across the league. But from just a Cavs aspect, I don't know. I think about the first post lockout shortened year, when you and I were maybe early in college, they had back games, and that to me would be miserable to watch, because physically just the demand is versus being a fan. But yeah, back-to-backs are dumb, but you can't stretch the season out any further. It's kind of penciled in the way it is, and the NBA is never going to say let's play less regular season games. They're going to, if anything, say let's play more.
I remember talking to Channing Frye about that. I straight up asked him in an interview once, do you think they should shorten the season? And he said something to me that has stuck with me, because I think a lot of former players or older players have said something similar, in that they view the 82-game season as a test of your mettle, of your ability to do stuff. And I fully understand that. And historically, changing it, I understand people would have some reservations about that, but I do think ultimately I want to watch as many impactful, high quality games as I can. And
the high quality part is where I'm at too. Like I want to see these guys healthy and be able to go blow for blow with each other because it makes a better product. Like,
yeah,
no disrespect to the dudes who suited up for the Cavs and the Hawks tonight, but like it does lack the appeal of no Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, no Trae Young, no Max Strus, even just because he can be a bit of a flamethrower too. Like that's getting into the minutia of it, but like yeah, like you are hurting your bottom line by making your best players push themselves to the limit. But to your point, like, and into, I think Channing said it himself, like the playoffs even aren't even about like who's the best team, it's who's the healthiest team.
It's a big part of it. Yeah,
like whoever's the healthiest starting the postseason, and you maintain that like clean bill of health until you get as far as you can. Like that plays a factor, and I think Cavs fans know it best because you see Kevin Love go down, you see Kyrie go down in the Eastern Conference Finals, and eventually Game 1 of the NBA Finals in 2015. Like, health plays a huge factor, and I think just maybe the physical demand that this 82-game grind has just makes it really hard on everyone.
Yeah, and I think just the last thing is, even the last couple of years, I mean, I the first year of the Garland Mobley's rookie year, that season was hampered by injuries, and Jared Allen's injury like derailed the season. Injuries are part of life, but it's at times I think you would just like to feel like things are a little more stable. All right, after this, we're going to move on to another big injury for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan Mobley is going to be out on the sidelines for a while, it sounds like. What does that mean for a season and how you should view it? That's coming up after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in your always updating assistants you call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Then there's the 2024 Nissan Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in a first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Nissan Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, a Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Want to tell you, too, that Locked On has launched the first ever national 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Evan, here's my take on the Evan Mobley injury news. If people haven't seen this or just want a refresher, The Athletic first reported that he's expected to miss an extended period of time due to the ankle sprain he suffered the other night. The sources in the story from Shams Charania, Joe Vard, and Jason Lloyd said, quote, "It will be some time," end quote, and another said, quote, "He will be out a while," end quote. This injury occurred against the Boston Celtics the other night. Evan, right now, Evan Mobley has played in not really that many games because he missed time with the knee surgery as well. He's played in 38 games this year.
Holy cow.
It's not a lot.
That number really does crystallize it because you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, he's missed a lot of time.
He is definitely not eligible for Defensive Player of the Year, folks.
No, he is not. If, let's say, he misses a month, he's going to end up somewhere like at best in the 40s, it feels like to me. It feels like he might come back right before the playoffs, which is like a whole other thing we can talk about of injuries bringing this team together at some point. But I kind of, Evan, am ultimately getting to the point with this season with Mobley that it's going to be the kind of season that unfortunately happens sometimes, and that your season, due to injury, due to fluke circumstances, can just feel a little bit lost, can feel a little bit stagnant for him. I think there are things you can tell yourself about the way he played recently and some of the underlying numbers where you can go, okay, I think this guy actually was improving. It just didn't get a chance to really show it. I think you can make that argument. I wouldn't be super compelled because we didn't see it over a large enough sample, but you can make that argument. But this is a guy that, even with some issues last year, was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. played a heavy role in this team. And this year, it didn't feel... it's hard, aside from the little spurts of three-point shooting and all of that, to say, okay, this guy grew in a real way. And for him in year 3, when other guys in his draft class are really ascending, Scotty Barnes, Alperen Sengun, etc., and what I personally think of him as a prospect and what he can be and how good he can be and what's still to come for him, this just does feel like kind of a lost Evan Mobley season, and that's not a particularly fun place to be for someone that is so talented and so vital to what the Cavs are doing now and what they're going to do in the future.
Yeah. Myself and I think others, I'll lump you into this, kind of hoped for or expected a year 3 leap from Evan Mobley. We saw it.
I think I predicted he was going to be an all-star, honestly. I don't remember half the things.
We were both pretty high on his supply, but yeah, I mean, that's part of the 5-episode-a-week grind. You do forget what you say half the time, but
that's just my brain is rot. Like, honestly,
well, that
all the
too.
years of years of Instagram use and anxiety is just like.
I mean, I just started shaving myself to have a mustache so we matched, but that's just my brain rotten thought process at the day.
You're gonna get down to here though, and you're gonna then like ride it. I'm gonna see you on your motorbike, and I'm gonna be concerned you're gonna like sell me some illicit substances. That's where I think we're headed, unfortunately.
Listen, for those who don't know, I do have my motorcycle license. I do have a motorcycle. I do have a helmet jacket. Chris knows this. This is my summer hobby when the Cavs season ended unexpectedly last year. If you see me out on my very old Honda American style Roadster, I'll say hi, but you may not recognize me because I'll have a helmet and jacket on. But either way, focusing on Evan Mobley, speaking of motorcycles, because his dad likes them too. It's, if you had to like give like a grade to it, it's a D and C. He did not complete it. Like, the 38 games played so far is stunning when you say that number out loud, because you're thinking like, yeah, he missed quite a bit of games this year. And then you realize, oh, wow, he missed quite a lot of games this year. And it's unfortunate because I don't know what to expect out of him still, because this year for me was like, okay, how does the fit between him and Allen work? Like, I watch Allen without Mobley, and Allen like thrives, and I'm not killing it, but like, I'm not saying like that's a discredit to Mobley, but I think that's like a spacing thing, just because Mobley just doesn't have that like reliable outside shot to give Allen the spaced down load of work, and it just clogs things up, and it makes the fit overall muddy between the 4 and the 5. But there's also tangible data that says like those two work together as well. But it's unfortunate. I think it's just unfortunate timing. Like, the knee injury was unfortunate timing. The ankle sprain was just clearly a freak accident. I'm not like obviously concerned about like his longevity or health, because he's put together like very healthy seasons in his rookie and sophomore year, but for a time when Mobley felt like he was plateauing to start his 3rd season, and then we see like a small blip of like him showing like some tangible improvements, whether he's just hyper aggressive on offense, reading and reacting to defenses, taking threes, attacking on the interior, passing, moving the ball. It's encouraging, but that's like a 4 or 5 game sample we have. Everything else is just, and then now he's just going to miss probably, I'd say at minimum 2 weeks, but depending on the severity of the sprain, like the Cavs did say they'll reevaluate him within a week, which that would then put him on the 13th. They play the Pelicans, so we shall see. But it's just unfortunate timing. And now, like, if you're asking to come back during the playoffs and play at a certain level, like, it's going to be hard. And then people will just, and that's the unfortunate nature of the beast, is like, how you perform in the postseason kind of crystallizes your entire regular season. And, it would be another unfortunate note on a very unfortunate season for Evan Mobley for a lot of things that just weren't in his control.
Yeah, and look, if he comes, like, it's just hard for him, and I think this is similar in a way to what's gone on with Darius Garland. It's just hard to find your footing when you miss a bunch of time, when you're in and out of the lineup, when you're not right. And again, this just happens. Like, this is unfortunate, but like, this happens to most really high level players, that they miss time. Like, LeBron James never having a serious injury is an anomaly in the history of the NBA.
Until his first year with the Lakers, but that also might have been a little bit of a string pulling on his part to say, like, listen, you need to trade these kids, and then the Lakers did the following year for Anthony Davis.
Yeah, but the fact that it even took that long is an anomaly. Like Kevin Durant has had these injuries. Russell Westbrook has had, like, everyone is also.
So Kevin Durant has been the same player since 2018 at this point. He hasn't had a healthy year, really. Like, this year, Phoenix, great, but like before that, like, it's just up and down, up and down, up and down the whole time.
Yeah, and like it's unfortunately just kind of inevitable that this stuff is going to happen, but it doesn't take away from, to me at least, the impact of and the reality of, like, you're losing something by not having this right now. And I think the Cavaliers lose something by not having Mobley and figuring out what's all going on. You're collecting as much data as possible to build this team. And on top of that, it's Mobley. This isn't optimal for his development. He comes back from attacking that knee injury and coming back and taking threes and figuring stuff out. And there were some ups and downs. At the beginning came out much hotter than he's been of late. But not getting this time now is detrimental to him. There's just I can't tell me otherwise. All right, after this though, we're gonna get into
maybe some assistants can whisper MVP to his ankle and he'll get to the court much faster.
Maybe after this, who steps up without Mobley? Play style changes, all of that and more. Evan, Damien Jones is gonna come up again. I'm gonna ask you at the top, like, what do you do with backup center if you were in charge? We're going to open with that after this. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy your tickets to your next big event. GameTime is there for you. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and events near you. Right now, you can use GameTime to view the review from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps, and they have deals on tickets right up to the start of your event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute deals. I love GameTime. I used it over the summer to get tickets to a Liberty Aces game. Saved me and my friends and I a ton of money on Liberty tickets for a sold-out game at Barclays, and I'll be using it again when I'm in New York in a few weeks for some things I want to go to. Use them around Cleveland as well. There's also the GameTime guarantee, which means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price. That is guaranteed. So backup center and playing bigs just becomes like a real concern for me now if I'm Cleveland.
That depth on the wing, because golly, that is murky as well.
Yeah, the thing about the wing as like a point of comparison though is that I do like you are just gonna get Strus back.
Yeah,
and I know Okoro and Levert also have these injuries right now and they're playing through it, and maybe they get a day off here or there, and you have to navigate that. But I do think the front court and how you want to play to me feels just like a very tricky thing. I thought it was notable that in this first game post the Mobley injury, and maybe some of this is just matchup dependent. I mean that's certainly part of it. I think that would have been a good question for JB post game. You did get Damien Jones. It was 10 minutes and 53 seconds. It's not like he got out there and played 18 minutes or something. But Jared Allen played 37. I think you want to cap him around there because you don't want to run him into the ground now. A month out from the playoffs, you're going to need Allen in a major way. He's going to play a lot, but you're going to need to fill 10 minutes or so, and maybe until Tristan Thompson is back from suspension. That's Damien Jones' role, and that's going to be a weird run, I think, for a couple games if that's the case.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. Like you said, the 10-ish minutes Jones played, and you even noted, and I was teasing you, but like he played well in those 10 minutes. He had a few moments where he kind of
well is strong. He had like two good plays, and that's
as in like he had those 2 moments he popped. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, he
had a nice dunk. Yeah,
the length and the athleticism clicked for a brief moment, and it just worked. And while you're riding the remainder of this Tristan Thompson suspension, which, as of the Cavs wrapping up things against the Hawks, is a week away. When they play the Pelicans is when Thompson's technically eligible. That gives you another body to roll it or throw into the fold. maybe Mobley attacks this like Wolverine, like he did with his knee injury, and his ankle recovers much sooner than expected. But it's mostly inflammation and, making sure everything is structurally intact. But based on the MRI results, like it's a sprained ankle. Like it's something like it's not a high ankle sprain or anything like that, which, knock on wood, is much better outcome, all things considered. But yeah, leaning on Allen a lot more. I think playing more weight as a small ball 5, maybe, golly, try George Niang a little bit too. He started the 3 tonight for the Cavs against the Hawks, and it was a bit of a mixed result, but it's going to be a bit of a collective effort as you just try to cobble things together if you're JB Bickerstaff to find ways to plug and play and mix and match options to give Jared Allen a moment to catch his breath and not run him into the ground before the playoffs start, and still find ways to win so you're not, stumbling to the back end of the Eastern Conference playoff race. And, you can kind of maybe have that home court advantage in the first, possibly second round if things break your way. But Bickerstaff's made it clear that like the seeding thing doesn't really matter to them. I think, getting healthy is their highest priority. But, I think they would like to win more than anything. And it's going to be an interesting project. I am morbidly curious to see how they handle Cat and Gobert on a Friday, even though Cat didn't play Wednesday night. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how they tackle this. It's an interesting thing just because, Big was their biggest strength coming into the season just because they had Mobley and Allen. And now that Mobley's out and his older brother's not getting any calls from the G League or anything, it's going to be a bit of, JB Bickerstaff, really flexing on his coaching ability to just plug and play matchups that work.
Let's end on Cavs Wolves on Friday. So we're going to be off on Friday as far as the episode goes, Friday morning, but we'll be back in your feeds late Friday night, early Saturday morning after Cavs Wolves to recap that game for you. We're gonna howl on Fridays. I think, Evan, 2 things I want to see in that game. Well, I'm going to tell you 3 things, and you can tell me which one you're actually most interested in. Number 1, it's the big thing you mentioned. How do the Cavs, assuming Cat plays, deal with the Wolves and their size, considering they don't have, they're probably going to start smaller and have to attack it in a way that is going to be different for them. Number 2, can Darius Garland just outplay Mike Conley? That's going to be interesting to me. And then Isaac Okoro, every moment he's defending Anthony Edwards, I will be glued to my seat.
Yeah, I'll be there to watch Ant, who, my hot take is he is the best player on the Wolves, depending on how you feel about Cat or
I don't
Gobert.
think that's a hot... I think that's just, consensus now. I don't think that's a hot take.
He's the alpha wolf of the pack. But I think those are just the things to watch. The Okoro versus Ant minutes will be interesting. Okoro was able to play through what probably still is a nagging elbow injury after having to play against the Celtics the night before. We'll see how he's feeling, with a day off of rest. Maybe he's feeling a little bit more ship-shape, or maybe it's still a little bit of a struggle for him out on the court. But yeah, the Okoro Ant minutes will be fun. Mike Conley versus Darius Garland. We didn't really talk about Garland in this game, but he was very unremarkable against the Hawks. But
yeah, I'm still not feeling good about what's going on there, man. Whew.
Neither am I. And so Mike Conley is playing great for the Wolves. Maybe this will be a weird litmus test for Garland. Can you match Mike Conley in production? Which, doesn't seem like much on paper, but Conley has been kind of integral to how the Wolves function. But stylistically speaking, the Wolves are obviously healthier, but there are interesting sameness between how the Cavs and the Wolves operate. With the 2 bigs, and just being very heavily dependent on their shooting guard, kind of carrying them on offense more often than not. So we shall see. I don't know. I think it'll be a fun matchup regardless, but just from a pure basketball standpoint, because the Wolves have zigged and zagged quite a bit and proven me wrong every step of the way, and we'll see how it unfolds. But yeah, hopefully Darius Garland finally has a bit of a bounce back game after kind of running through the muck the last several games.
If you were going to beat Cleveland and punt, and not that they would do this is just a purely hypothetical, I want to end on this. If you're going to punt on either the Wolves game or the Nets game on Sunday just to give everyone a rest and say, all right, Pete Nance, Isaiah Mobley, Amani Bates.
The Nets game.
Yeah.
It's lesser
that game is not good. The Nets are awful. That game's already not going to be great.
The Nets are very bad. it's a shame that the Cavs keep kind of getting these matchups, so they're trying to honor franchise legends, but neither here nor there. Because at least against the Wolves, if they have more bodies, you don't want to risk getting the remainder of your physically available depth hurt, because it's just going to hamstring you long term. So, yeah, try your damnedest against the Wolves, and then maybe punt against the Nets if you can afford it, because you have to play the Suns immediately after that.
Yeah, and I would personally like to. I would rather like watch a good Cavs Suns game on Monday than I would like a Cavs Nets game on Sunday. And be a paint night for Cavs Suns too.
Won't be there, but it'll be a good matchup from watching from afar. So,
if there's good NBA paint merch, Evan, I will probably buy some. That's my promise.
Yeah, let me know if they're #let him know if there are any good ones, and maybe I'll be sending you a Venmo deposit for some myself, because
yeah, I only
the collab they did with the Charge was fun. Those dad hats were fun. So
yeah, I need another dad hat. Like, I need a hole in my head, but if it's a good dad hat, that's a cop. That's a cop.
All right, with that, we will be back Saturday morning, right?
Yeah, Saturday morning, Cavs Wolves recap. We'll recap that game, talk about any of the latest news. We'll see if there's any more news on Mobley. Maybe Craig Porter Jr. do something cool. We'll talk about what's coming there.
He was really good against the Hawks. We should have mentioned that on the way out, too. Like, he was good.
Yeah.
He had a good game.
Very composed. Very, very composed. And I at some point, when we get to the end of the year, his low-key, very excited to do his player review, because I'm like kind of fascinated by like how weird he is and what that kind of means. But we'll
like a dedicated Craig Porter Jr. tape study will be pretty fun just to kind of sink my teeth into, just because like he does a lot of stuff that is compelling. But yeah, that's later in the year. We'll talk about that in July. May. After the Cavs win the championship. So if
they win the championship, I mean, Lord, like. If people want to look at something,
they have the power of Taylor Swift on their side now. They're fine.
No, they have the private. Personally, this on tomorrow, I'm gonna go see Dune when we're not recording. I'm gonna delete a Bud Light, in the same way Travis Kelce deleted it and Jason Kelce deleted theirs while I'm eating popcorn. Not out of that weird bucket though. We'll talk to you after Cavs Wolves. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, who's probably wearing a black hoodie right now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon.